are.
Good morning, everybody. This is RVN TV. This is CEO Chat. My name is Al Cini.
Joe Osamendi.
And we have a terrific, this is a change-up, Joe.
It is.
We're making a break with what we usually do on CEO Chat. Instead of going down, Benjamin Lloyd, who is the founder and executive director of Bright Invention, Inc., is going to be talking to us about improv work that he does and how that can make a difference inside of your company. So
That's right.
Welcome, Benjamin, to our program.
welcome.
I also want to thank Jonathan Rosen for making this introduction. Jonathan Rosen's been on our program several times before.
Jonathan's wonderful.
Great guy.
Collaborex.
Which is definitely worth looking into if you're interested in networking with other professionals. But Benjamin, we've all been on Zoom calls. I have, I think, 3 others scheduled for today.
I think I have 2. I have 2.
Today?
Yes, today.
Today.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, what really intrigues me about what you do is that it is such a nice change of pace, potentially, for people out there thinking to schedule a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the same old blame and shame, where are you on this? How come this isn't finished yet?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if they actually loosened people up maybe and got them a little bit more into their creative side?
Well, I mean, I think any business that is trying to transition to an online workplace has to treat Zoom fatigue as a real challenge.
It is a thing, definitely.
And you know, put yourself in the position of your employee who has 6 hours of this a day in various different contexts. You know, staring at that screen, and how do we enliven that experience? How do we feel like your team is actually a team, and that they're connected to each other, that they're connected to your mission and your goals as a CEO, and that's where we come in.
Okay. You know, as a kid, I remember walking into a classroom, I was probably middle school, walking into a classroom and seeing that the room was dark and there was a projector set up. That was always, that was always
movie time.
So what you really do at Bright Invention is to create that experience for companies, is that right?
Well, we like to think so. We have a variety of different services that we offer, everything from a happy hour, or if you like, a sort of a coffee gathering, where my ensemble and I create just 30 to 45 minutes of games. Some of the games your team participates in, some of them we actually perform for you, and you just watch us and hopefully laugh while we do crazy, wonderful, fun improv stuff online with you. But there's a whole other component, there's a whole other piece of it too, which is this kind of experience actually brings people together because it engages our feelings, it engages our emotions, and so much of what happens on Zoom can feel distant and dehumanizing to some extent.
Sure.
So our goal is to help us all feel like, you know, we're all human beings. Even though we're on Zoom, we are actually in the same place.
We're in the same place.
Together.
You know, okay, so we got people out there that are watching the program that have Zoom meetings all the time.
Yeah.
And the people who hold the meetings are as fatigued, maybe even more fatigued than the people that they invite to attend the meetings.
Of course.
So they're always looking for a way to change things up.
Right.
I know, he's the guy.
Well, you know,
Joe's always looking for that.
we met for the first time when we were talking about that in the studio right
Sure,
here.
yeah.
And you know what went through my head was when you were thinking about Zoom meetings and people getting together and everything, I thought of the Hollywood Squares.
Okay.
You know, that kind of is what I think about when you're talking about a Zoom meeting and bringing everybody together that really aren't together.
Right.
Is that a fair analogy?
Absolutely. We do a bunch of different games. One is fairly well known called Mirror, where we're actually we're all sort of moving in the same way, watching each other move on the same way, and seeing that we're all connected.
Okay.
We're all actually moving together. It's really peaceful, really calming. I talk a lot about breath and centering. We do another one that's fun called Red Ball. Okay. So imagine all these different squares, and I have a red ball, and I go, "Ow, red ball!" and I throw it like that, and you're in some different square someplace else, and you catch it, and you say, "Thank you, red ball," and then you're like, "Joe, red ball," and you throw it,
and he might be up, kind of like Brady Bunch.
Right, exactly.
And the funny thing is, while he's up there for me, I may be up there for him. We're not necessarily all in the same place.
So you're passing it up here, and he's catching it from down there, and
interesting.
we're watching the ball pass around, and we change. Sometimes we change it into a kitten or a hot taco or whatever.
Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
But the point is, you're getting people laughing. They're thinking now about how they're connected even though they're physically isolated.
Right.
And you know, I can see where that. What kind of outcomes? What do your your clients tell you about how that makes a difference for them?
Well, first of all, it's engaging. So I think one of the great challenges of the sort of all online situation we have right now is that we can feel that we're being sort of spoken to and talked at, even if we're watching a panel discussion, right, where people are engaged together. We could, you know, just feel so passive. So our goal is to engage everybody. And to do that safely, right? So we're never going to put anybody on the spot. We're never going to single anybody out. We're playing the games with you. So don't forget, it's not me. It's me plus my ensemble of extraordinary improvisers and actors, the Bright Invention Ensemble. So a group of them will come along too, and they've done this work a lot, and they're great at getting people to come and play with us as well.
How did you form this company? It's a very, very interesting concept.
Fun.
So I had a transformative experience. I have an MFA in acting from the Yale School of Drama, and I embarked on my career, my glorious career as a stage actor. I had a 20-year career as, again, a stage actor, Actors Equity. I did a great deal of work in the Philadelphia area, at the Walnut Street Theater, the Wilma, the Arden, all of the sort of big names, you know. And began to get a little burnt out, shall we say. And then this remarkable woman named Bobby Block cast me in a show for the Fringe Festival. I don't know if you've heard of the Fringe Festival. So the Philadelphia Live Arts Fringe Festival is this extraordinary festival that happens every fall where performers and groups from all over the world descend on Philadelphia. Bobby cast 6 script-based actors in a long-form improv show. She gave us a boot camp for 3 weeks to train us in this technique. And then she threw us up on stage at the Arden Theater for 3 nights in a row to improvise together. Now remember, we're actors who are used to having a script and knowing what comes next. And we were trained in this technique to create really meaningful relationships with each other based on audience suggestion with no script. And Al, believe me when I tell you, it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever done in my life as an actor, but also the most satisfying in some way. And I knew at that point that improv had to be a part of my life from that point forward.
I think that's great. And you know, that's a really great point that you brought up. This is, if you were to hire Benjamin and his team to make a difference in your next Zoom meeting, it's not like a clown at a kid's birthday party. Improv takes discipline.
Absolutely.
And it's practiced and it's rehearsed. I mean, it may not be the same over and over again each time, but
so you're bringing up.
You got to know how.
Yeah, part of what sets us apart, I think, from other improv-based training groups is that we actually don't ask you to improvise. We ask you to play games with us, and that's an extremely important part of our work. I'm fond of saying, if I can play with you, then I'm safe with you. So we have to create this safe place for all of us together. And that safety begins with laughter and smiling. So we create this space where that can actually happen, all of us together. And once that threshold's been crossed, we can actually begin to get into some stickier stuff. And the way we do that is we create tailor-made, structured improvisations. So imagine you run a car dealership, okay? You've got 40 or 50 employees of all genders and ages and so forth, right? And in your employees, you have these older guys who are awesome salesmen and awesome mechanics. They're great at what they do. They're extremely valuable. And you have women who work in various different, they're salesmen too, maybe they work in the machine shop, maybe they're customer service, all right? The women have been coming to you and they've been saying, if those guys keep treating me the way they're treating me and talking to me the way they're talking to me, I'm out of here, right? And these women are really important too. And you're stuck there going, okay, I don't know how to deal with this, right? We have a gender problem, we have a sexism problem, a Me Too problem, I don't know, what do I do? What do I do, right? So you contact Creative Corporate Training, right? This is the program within Bright Invention that I run. And we create a scenario for your team to watch, or two. And that scenario is rehearsed. but it's structured improvisation, so there are no lines. And I actually show it to you. If you're the boss, I show it to you first, and I say, does this look like the problem? And in this scenario, let's say there's a male member of my group, and there's a female member of my group, and the male member comes in and he puts his arm around her and he says, hey, honey, can I talk to you a minute about this problem? I'm like, is that what we're talking about? Is it stuff like that? And you're like, yeah, it's like that. I don't think he actually puts his arm around her, but he does. He gets in her space. He's touching her inappropriately. I'm like, okay, great. So then we create the scenario, right? But maybe we actually present it in a different workplace. So we say to your team, all right, I'm going to show you an IT company where something's happening that's not right between people.
Interesting.
So that the people at the car salesman at your business, they don't feel like they're being spoken to about them.
Right.
But they are watching a problematic encounter. So the first time we present the scenario, it always goes badly. And I turn to the group and I say, what happened? Why is she about to quit? And people start to raise their hands. And then I say, oh, he's in her space. He's not touching her. He shouldn't be touching her at all. Is that what I'm hearing? And maybe there's some guys who's like, hey, man, he's just being friendly. That's all. Right. And then I'm facilitating a discussion about this, but nobody's implicated because it's my actors on stage.
Right.
So then I say, okay, let's go back and let's tell Frank how to adjust his behavior a little bit. Give him some new language to say. So he can come back into the scenario and try it a different way, and let's see if that leads to a positive outcome. And you know what we find out? We find out that everybody knows the right thing to do.
Really? Even the people that might have been crossing the line see the line and stop crossing it.
The guys are like, oh yeah.
I see that.
I see that. Right. Light bulb, right?
Very interesting.
And because your team is solving this problem, I'm not coming in and telling you how to behave.
Right.
I'm just showing you a problematic situation, and then I'm running a discussion. I'm facilitating a discussion about how to make that problematic situation improve. Because my actors are so skilled, they can take your notes and change their behavior, and your team watches it get better and better and better.
And better and better. But you know, it's so interesting that you're saying that, because I'm thinking to myself, culture is generally something people talk about all the time.
Right.
But what you're demonstrating is that culture is actually something you do,
It
not
is.
something you talk about.
Right. And relationships are things that you do. You can't learn to get better at a relationship from a PDF. You can't. So what we do is we create this laboratory, a fun laboratory, which begins with laughter and smiling, right? Where we can actually work on professional relationships, but you don't have to get up there in front of everybody.
Lessons are being learned without people being victimized, which is kind of perfect.
Or just put on the spot. I've always just felt that's unfair. I'm a performer, so I love getting up on stage. I'm yapping away, right? I'm taking all your time. I'm taking all the oxygen here. But I've always felt it's a little unfair to come in and say, okay, let's role play.
Right.
Because if I'm really panicky about people watching me perform, I'm not going to learn anything. But if I can sit back and watch these people perform and actually give them notes, I feel like I'm part of a creative process.
Right.
I'm watching this thing be presented to me, which is somehow about my experience.
It's about me, but it's not naming
But it's
you.
not me.
Right.
And I get to tell them how to do it better. And because it's this emotional process, that learning lasts. And I hear this from my clients. Whatever it is that you're doing in your workshops, Ben, it sticks. People remember it because it's not just this.
Right.
It's all this. It's the breathing and the feeling and the laughing and like, oh my God, he put his hand on her shoulder. That's just not right.
That's
I know
just not right.
I know he's being friendly, but it's just, he's got to not do that anymore.
Wow, that's great. We're coming up on a break, but the bottom line of all this is if you want to teach diversity, equity, and inclusion,
Absolutely.
then you do it by showing people behaving in that way. You want to solve a Me Too problem, you do it by, what's cool about that is if I'm a member of your audience and I might be a transgressor, you know, you don't know me and I don't know you, and because we're not familiar with each other, there's no way I can imagine that what you're doing reflects personally on me.
Correct.
So I think that is just so effective. It's such a great way.
We take a break.
And when we get back after this break,
Yes, we will.
We're going to play 1 or 2 games.
There we go. Stick
We'll
around.
be right back with more CEO Chat after this.
Hello, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm one of the hosts here at RVN TV. We're asking every one of our viewers to go out and vote. Only 60% of eligible voters actually get out and vote during the general election. It's your duty, it's your civic duty to do so.
Get out and vote.
Do your part and vote.
Many men and women have sacrificed their lives for your right to vote. Please vote this year.
Vote in person, vote by mail, just vote.
Every vote counts, so vote.
Get your ass up and go vote. Do you hear me? Go vote.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed within their lifetime. RVN-TV is asking for your support for breast cancer survivors and those currently battling the disease. You can do this by wearing pink ribbons or clothing throughout the month of October. Early detection and treatment is crucial, and we at RVN-TV encourage all women to consider undergoing breast clinical exams and mammograms. The fight against breast cancer needs your support.
Why buy local?
We're back.
We are back with more CEO Chat. My name is Al Cini.
Joe Osamendi here.
It's always good hanging out with you.
Absolutely.
Now, we always have great guests, but Benjamin Lloyd is a uniquely great guest in that he's doing something completely different. Well, during the break, we tried to put our finger on exactly what it is you do, and we were thinking, your people are good. Your people are good people. Everybody that works for you is a good person. And one of the benefits of working with an organization like Bright Invention is that they have programs that will help bring that out. You talked about the 4 virtues that you believe improv helps trigger?
So I teach my students and my ensemble. My belief is that improv awakens virtues that all human beings have. Improv stimulates those virtues and points out to you that you innately have them and you can draw upon them. And to me, they are, in this order, courage, empathy, creativity, and faith. And I can go on and on about how improv engages each of those virtues. But part of what our work does is we don't come in and teach you how to be courageous. What we do is we actually provide a safe place for you to experience your own courage.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
And the net result outcome of this is a workforce that learns lessons without having to be taught those lessons.
Correct.
So they watch how you behave and they participate in your exercises and they become the people they can be.
Well, and hopefully, I think, this kind of experience requires a good facilitator, a good teacher. So it requires somebody to go, hey, Al, hey, Joe, that was a risk you just took. You just risked being sort of foolish and silly in front of all of these people. That's courage. You took a risk and that's courage. So I'd like you to reflect. In what way does that experience of being brave, of being courageous, how does that work in your workplace? Do you experience it? Do you feel like you're invited to experience it? Are there obstacles to experience it? So we sort of draw out these conversations about these things that I think really matter, but there aren't very many accessible ways to examine them.
Well, the nice thing about that is an inner reaction that would normally not occur if you just lecture somebody.
Correct.
That's the most important thing I see.
Because this gets back to Zoom fatigue. We're being lectured at all the time.
Exactly.
With the best of intentions by wonderful people, but it's just
Just the way it degenerates.
It grinds us down. Yeah. So go ahead.
That's a point that I definitely want to make. While you have been wildly successful working with organizations in person, you also have very effective programs that work just as well over a Zoom type environment. And since that's the way the world's headed and will be that way for a while, this is something you can do right now, today, during, take out your mask.
Oh, okay.
Great invention.
We take the pandemic seriously. We all do. And Joe and I wear masks into and out of the studio, and we disinfect the set between each interview. And we know you take it seriously too.
Yep.
So this is a real thing, but it doesn't mean that life can't go on while this is happening.
Right.
And what you do, the magic that you do, could be done just as easily over a Zoom call, maybe where it's even more needed.
Absolutely. So if I can just plug something.
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned Jonathan Rosen and Collaborex earlier. our program, Creative Corporate Training, is doing a free demo for a Collaborex workshop on Tuesday, I believe it's November 10th. And if anyone out there is interested in watching us do this, just shoot us an email. You can get to us through our website, which is brightinvention.org. There's a contact form. And say, hey, I'd love to check out the demo at Collaborex, and you'll watch us do this.
To say that all again, because I think it's really important. There are people out there, they can watch this Collaborex program to learn more about what you do, and then after that, get back in touch with you to stage a program like this for their company.
And that scenario, that really, complex process that I described with the structured improvisation and the scenario and the car dealership, that can all happen online.
Sure.
All of that stuff can happen online too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, now the game.
All right.
Before the program, you got me all balled up in this, and but Joe was much better at it. It annoys me. He's always better at everything. He's my younger brother has always been. Yeah. What is it? It's no guns.
No
so
guns.
Explain it to us, then we'll screw it up.
Okay. So I learned this at a conference that I went to. By the way, there's this whole world of what I do. It's called applied improvisation. I'd like to say I'm the only guy on earth who does this, but I would be lying. There are extraordinary people who do this kind of work, and we actually have like a professional group called the Applied Improvisation Network. And I was at a conference in Stony Brook, New York, and one of the teachers that I studied there with taught us this. So this is called No Guns, and the theory behind this has to do with neuroscience, which I'll explain in a minute. One finger is index finger up. I'm sorry, one hand is index finger out. The other hand is thumb up. And when I say no guns, the task is not to do this in this exercise, right? You don't want to create the gun image, right? What you want to do is just switch back and forth, okay? Finger, thumb, just switch back and forth like that.
Oops.
Well, we've been.
Come on, Al. Come on, Dad. Slow it down.
So what you're doing, I think.
Here you go. Good.
No, I can't do it.
Yes, you do.
I know.
You're doing too many things at once.
But what you're really doing is training my brain.
So the theory behind this is that this hand is controlled by my right hemisphere, and this hand is controlled by my left hemisphere. And one of the things that neuroscience teaches us about improv is that it is an extraordinary way to get these two parts of our brains, which we think of as oppositional, but they're not. We are most powerful and most effective when the sort of data-centric, logic-centric left side is working, in consort with the intuitive, relationship-based, pattern-recognizing right side of the brain. So what this is about, right, is actually getting those two sides of the brain to work together in one exercise. So it's just a little example of that.
The other thing that's interesting about that, there's a natural tendency to have a gun.
It's
a natural
naturally how
tendency.
people hold their hands, so you
Right.
got to unlearn that.
You have to
in a
unlearn
way.
that behavior
I think
to try to do it. You got to break it down.
I think there's a PhD thesis out there somewhere about, why we want to do this all the time, but I'll let that
You're
go.
working on your PhD. It's been a while, and you're due for a thesis.
Yeah, mine's piled higher and deeper. I already have my BS.
This is. I think there is so much value in what you do, honestly, Benjamin, because I don't think people pay very much attention to this at all. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the kind of budget I need to put together if I'm going to invite you into my company to help me with a program like this.
Right. So our fees are based on a few variables. Okay. So the variables include how many people are we serving in your group, right? So if we're going to serve like a large group of 100, or say it's a convention or something like that, then I'm going to need to employ a bunch of my team. We're going to need to use breakout rooms, right? We're going to need to synchronize all of that. That's a lot of planning. That's a lot of intense work, okay? There's something else that's going on here that's really important for me to share. These extraordinary artists in my ensemble are creative people who have dedicated their lives to their creativity. And these people, creative people, and especially performers, tend to be marginalized in our society. And one of my goals is to create meaningful work for performers which uses their gifts and their talents to solve problems in the world. And so it's my goal to make sure that they get paid a living wage for their work.
Interesting.
So that's just sort of a little background.
Well, I think I think that's very valuable in itself.
Yeah.
You can't just walk in off the street and go to Benjamin Lloyd and become part of his team.
We meet once a week to rehearse, to practice. These structured improvisations that we put together for our clients, we rehearse those for 2 or 3 hours before we even show them to you. So there's a whole sort of like extraordinarily skill-based process that goes on. Anyway, so how many people are we serving? How much time is it going to take?
Right.
And what kind of company do you run? So we're not going to charge AT&T the same thing that we charge a small nonprofit that's working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, let's say, right?
Right.
But so I would say, depending on what your, the budget that your company has, a half-hour long happy hour is going to be between $500 and $1,500.
Okay.
Okay. A 4-hour long workshop, right, where we're actually creating scenarios.
Could be more because you've got some work to do up
Yeah.
front.
So that's going to be $5,000 or $10,000.
Okay. What's great about this, though, Benjamin, first of all, I don't think that's unreasonable at all, because what you're getting is, this is not lampshade on your head, slapstick comedy.
Right.
This is rehearsed, carefully prepared, experienced learning that you facilitate with a team of people that you have chosen for their abilities to be able to facilitate that. You're working on improving your craft all the time. Somebody out there who might be thinking about a Zoom meeting they're about to have could invite you in just for that, for an exercise to break the ice at the next Zoom meeting and then see how that goes.
That's right, absolutely. And the happy hours can be just for fun. I mean, I always like to say, even if they're just for fun, there's something else going on.
There's something else going on.
We can actually focus on that something else if you want us to. So there are a bunch of games that we play that that help people get to know the other people in the room. Let's say, so you could come to me and say, this group has to work together really well, and they've never actually met each other face to face. So we need to help them get to know you games. We have a whole suite of those that we can play with you, and then we can actually design exercises which are meant to help people feel like they can reveal a little bit about themselves.
What I think is real important about what you do as far as the rehearsals and everything, that has a tendency, because well rehearsed, to add realism.
Yes.
To the thing. I think that's important because realism is important for people to understand.
So that's so important, Joe. I ask my clients for the scenarios that we create, can you give us some language from your business? We did a series of workshops for an organization called Community Associations Institute. And this is a professional group that represents managers of condo units and co-op units. So these are the people who are working with and interfacing with the residents on a daily basis.
Interesting.
So there's a whole bunch of interpersonal
I live in a co-op in New York.
challenges.
Trust me, I know what you mean.
Yeah. But I don't know anything about that. I don't know, what the language is. So the person who hired me gave me a bunch of language to work with. We came back, we showed it to him and members of his board. They loved it, but they also said, can we change this word to that? And he shouldn't really use that term because that's when the lawyers get involved. So he needs to figure something else out. So we made those adjustments so that when we presented it to his group, it would sound like we knew at least a little bit what we were talking about.
We're coming up on that part of our program where you get to tell everybody yet again how to get in touch with you.
Okay.
This has been an unbelievably fast half hour. What's exciting to me about what you do, Benjamin, honestly, is that the people in your company, whether they just started last week or they've been there for 35 years, whether they own the company or they answer the phones and mop the floors in the company, everybody can participate equally in these exercises. It is classic DE&I when you think about it, because people's backgrounds don't enter into this at all.
That's
and
right.
Some of the best ideas in your company are in the heads of some of the people that you probably least expect them to come from.
I agree.
I got to believe when you do this, all kinds of ideas bubble forward that make the company a better company.
I agree, yeah.
Tell everybody how to call you to make this magic for them.
Okay, thank you, Al. So one of the best ways to learn about us is just to go to our website, which is easy to remember. It's brightinvention.org. And you can bop around and click on the Creative Corporate Training tab at the top of the website. That'll take you to our Creative Corporate Training page. And there's lots of testimonials there. There's little videos you can watch, things of that nature. Our phone number is on the page. It's 877-674-8338. You can just call us, and you can reach me via email at ben@brightinvention.org. Easy to remember. We'd love to hear from you. And the first, what do you call that? The first conversation, the first consultation is absolutely free.
That's
There you go.
important. That's important to know too, because people are going to call you and say, "Can you help me with this?"
Yeah.
That conversation is often that conversation could be transformative.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, you're giving people an opportunity to articulate a challenge that they're facing and maybe address it in a completely new and very effective way that they may never have thought about on their own.
And what a privilege for us to learn about your businesses. You know, we work for pharmaceutical companies, and oh my goodness,
I
the
know.
kind of work that's going on there is extraordinary. And
Interesting. Interesting.
it's just a privilege to be able to learn about what's going on, the challenges that people face.
What we love about CEO Chat, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's exactly
It's a great
right.
opportunity to meet people like you and learn about what
Absolutely.
you do. And
Thank you, guys.
And thanks all of you for joining us for this CEO Chat, which was really entertaining and interesting. Benjamin Lloyd, who is the founder and president and boss at brightinvention.org.
Big cheese.
Big
Yeah, big cheese. Definitely reach out to him, and we hope you'll join us again for a future CEO Chat. So I'm Al Cini.
I'm Joe Osamendi.
Yeah, nice hanging with you,
There
buddy.
you go.
Thank you guys both for having me.
Oh, thank you.
This was so
Yeah.
much fun. We're so glad you came.
You're a great guest, and I think you have a great program.
Thank you, Joe.
We got to get you back.
We'll come back.
do
We'll play
this
some more
again.
games.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll play some more games.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Yep. Be safe, be kind to each other, use common sense, and stay healthy.